Well, hey everybody, and welcome back to your next cast. Thank you so much for checking out another episode. If this is your first time to the channel, we hope that you'll leave a comment below. And if you like the content, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Today is all about this right here, the Palomar knot. This is by far the knot that I tie the most. I probably tie it, I'm gonna say 98 to 99% of the time, no matter what I'm throwing. And I'm gonna show you how I originally learned how to tie this and how a lot of people teach people how to tie this, and then a slight modification that I use that made it so much simpler, at least for me, and made it so much easier to tie, especially when you're out on the boat. So here we go. Now, what I'm starting out here with is an old clamp, and we're gonna pretend that this is your hook or your swivel or whatever it is you're tying your fishing line to. So we're just gonna pretend that this right here is the eye of whatever object it is you're tying to. And I'm using one of my daughter's shoestrings just because it's really thick and visible to show you exactly how we're gonna do this. So the way I originally learned to tie this, and the way a lot of people tell you to do it, is to start out by doubling up your line. And what that means is, you know how you got one piece of line just like this, and you double it up like that right there. Hopefully you can see that well. Let me move this box out of the way. Hopefully that will show up well, so you can see how you have that double line. And oftentimes what people instruct you to do is take that double line and run it through the eye of whatever it is you're tying, so your hook or your swivel. And that's fine, because we're still going to get to this place, but what I'm going to show you in a little bit is an adjustment on this that I think makes a huge difference, and I'll explain to you why. So the Palomar knot goes like this. You have your line, you have two pieces of line running through here. You want to have your hook, or the eye of your hook, right in the middle of that. And then what you want to do is take this side and just tie a basic knot, a basic overhand knot, just like that. Do it nice and slow so you can see it. And so now what you have is a knot tied that's not cinched down right over the eye of the lure or the eye of the hook or whatever it is you're tying to. Now what I like to do is put a finger in that hole. Now, because we're kind of exaggerating this a bit, and this is a big shoestring and the hole is really big, I'm going to put 3 fingers in there. And you'll see why I'm doing that in just a second, because I don't want to cinch that down. But this loop part, this big hole over here, has to go around the hook or the object of what it is that we're tying to. So it has to go around that bottom all the way down. And sometimes that can be a lot depending on how long the lure is. But it has to go all the way around. And you see my fingers are still in here, so it's not cinched down, but this hoop has gone around this eyelet now. And now what you want to do is pull that tight. Now it's a little bit harder because it's a shoestring, again, not fishing line, but you see now we have this, and this is what you should have now if you haven't cinched it down. And typically what you want to do at this point is get this wet. I typically like to get this wet at this point. I don't like to cinch it down then get it wet. I see some people do that. Some people obviously use saliva and just put it in their mouth. I don't particularly like doing that. When you have a whole body of water around you, I typically dip mine in the water first, but to each his own. Sometimes I do put it in my mouth if I just need to do it really quick. So get it wet, and then you want to cinch it straight down just like that, and you have your Palomar knot tied. And that is a great sturdy knot that works, again, 98 to 99% of the time on what you're doing. Again, when you're tying to some type of hook, swivel, or lure, I wouldn't use this knot to tie 2 pieces of line together. But if you're just trying to tie to your lure, this is going to work great. Now, we're going to do this again, because I know when I watch these type of tutorial videos, I'm like, let me see that again, and I hate having to rewind it. So I am going to show you multiple times using different types of string, and then I am also going to do this with fishing line and an actual lure. All right, so now we're using a bit bigger line. This is a rope actually, and we're going to do the same concept. So this is the end of your line here that you have. This is what we're pretending to be our hook, and what you're going to do is double that line again. Get it nice and long. Now I'm over exaggerating here. I'm taking about a foot or 2. Typically you won't need that much unless you got a super long lure. But there you go. And then here's the eye of it. So if you're holding your eye like that, you're going to run these 2 through there. Now, again, this is easy because I have a really big hole right here. And so even though the rope is a pretty good diameter, it doesn't necessarily matter. This will come into play, however, when you're trying to do an actual hook, especially when conditions are tough. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So let's walk through this one more time. So you should be able to hold it just like that. And your hook or external tackle is sitting right there in the middle. You're going to do a loop, an overhand knot just like that, right there. Again, I like to put fingers in there. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I like to do it. Then you're going to pull enough so that this part here can go around the base, and then you're going to pull straight up. Now, again, this is where you should wet the line at this point, but now you're just going to pull that knot straight down, and boom, you've got your Palomar knot. So now what I want to do is, using this same line and our same, hook here that we're using, I want to show you what I do that makes this so much simpler. But first, let me show you a traditional hook. I mean, you've seen this before. It's a 3/0 hook. Hopefully you can see that really well. You see that eye right there? That's a pretty small eye. Now, of course, compared to this, for sure. So when you're actually in real time on a boat with it rocking, let's say there's some waves and it's cold, let's say it's 50 degrees or less, and fish are biting, let's say, and you need to retie, trying to double up your line and get it through this hole can be a challenge for sure. And there's been plenty of times where that's happened to me and I've just been flat out frustrated. And so I needed to do something better to make it easier, instead of me trying to double up fishing line and get it through this hole. I mean, I'm doubling up this, obviously this won't go through, but using some, let me grab some real quick. I think I have some right here. Grabbing this fishing line, right, and trying to double that fishing line up and push it through this hole. And so there's two reasons why this is not the greatest idea. One is, when you try to crease this so much to get through this hole, you can actually put a crimp in the line that weakens it. And then when you get a bite, of course, you might lose a fish. Beyond that, if it's cold or if it's rainy and you're like me and don't have great eyesight anyway, it's going to be hard to get this through here and get it tied before the fish stop biting. Because sometimes that bite window is 4, 5, 10 minutes, and you've got to capitalize on that. So here's what I decided to do to fix all that. And I'm going to go back to using this rope. So what I found to be a much easier thing to do is take your hook or swivel, whatever it is, and just run one line through, just like that. Now we just got one through, not two, and then just run it right back through the eye. It accomplishes the exact same goal. And you don't have to worry about crimping up your line, and you don't have to worry about sitting there trying to look at that hole and get both pieces of line through there. So now we're back to the same place we were before. The rest of the process is the exact same. Tie that overhand knot just like that. Again, I keep my hands in there, go around the base of the lure. And again, if you got treble hooks and you're tying like a crankbait or something, be careful on that. Get it wet right here and then cinch it down. Boom. There you go. Got your Palomar knot. Now, what I want to do is show you this in a real life scenario with some actual fishing line and an actual hook and a lure, and I'm hoping that it will show up well. So here we go. All right, so here we go. We got the end of our line here, and that's what you want to have. I'm gonna use a little bit bigger of a hook just so you can see it. This is a magworm trocar hook. It's got a pretty big eye on it, as you can see there. And all you're gonna do is take your hook, and again, I'm gonna use the way that I normally do it. Again, this cut down a lot on the time that it took me to tie this knot. Now I can tie this knot in easily 20 seconds or less. But there you go. You want it through like that, and then you want to run this back through. Again, it accomplishes the same goal, and you want it just like that. Give yourself plenty of room as you're practicing with it. As you get better, you'll need less, but I usually give myself 6 or 7 inches. And there you go. And now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to tie an overhand knot just like this. Notice I still have my finger in there. Sometimes I still put 3. That's a pretty big hole. And then you come down over the hook or the lure, And then you get ready. And I usually keep my middle finger right here for this. And I keep it right here again, so that when it cinches down in the proper way. And so I usually wet it at this point, dip it down into the water. If I don't have water, I'll just use my mouth. And then you see we got this big loop, but you see that loop there? You should have that. And then you just want to pull straight down, and then you cinch that down. Hopefully that comes out okay, and you can see that. All right. And then you just want to cut your tag line after that, which hopefully I got some scissors here. Yes, I do. Cut our tag line here. Boom. We are good to go. We have our Palomar knot, and we are ready to rock and roll. It's hard to tell if this is coming in clear. I hope that it is. So now I'm going to do that same thing one more time. I'm just going to cut this off. And this time I'm going to use, since I had my frog box out here, I was doing some other stuff with my frog box. And so I'm going to use this frog, tie the same knot one more time. While I'm doing that, let me give a huge shout out to my good friend Ray Nail. I am making this video that is solely dedicated to Ray Nail, who has been asking me for like 2 years to make a video on how to tie a knot. And so that is what I'm doing. So, hey, Ray Nail, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you. Put down in the comments below, Ray Nail is the best. That'll make her laugh, I think. All right, here we go. Here's our frog. Here's our line. And now this has a pretty big hole on it, pretty good size. So you could probably double that up and get it through with no problem. But again, I just like to do this method because I find it to be a whole lot easier. So run it through. Boom, there we go. So on one piece of string or one piece of line, we're running it back through the hole. Whoops, hopefully you can see that okay. Boom, there we go. Again, give yourself some line. I'm not giving myself a whole lot because this isn't that big of a lure, but there you go, just so you can see that clear. Now we're gonna take this side and we're just gonna tie a knot around, just like that. And remember, got my finger in here, in this hole, got the loop here. We're gonna bring this loop down over the lure, and then we're gonna pull straight up, okay? Now notice my middle finger's still in there. And so now I pull it out, and now I cinch it and wet it, of course, get it wet, and then cinch it down. And there you go. Got your Palomar knot. Hopefully that shows up okay. So this is the knot that I like to tie. It's a strong knot. You can use it on, fluorocarbon. You can use it on braid, monofilament, of course. It is a great knot to tie. A lot of people will tie this knot. Don't forget to cut your tag in off. But there you go. So in a nutshell, this is the Palomar knot. It's the knot that I like to tie the most. Certainly you want to take some time to get some practice with it. I think it's a great knot to tie almost in any condition. You can tie it really quick, get right back to fishing. You always want to make sure that you are retying pretty frequently, especially if you're catching some good sized fish. So thank you again, Raynell, for this idea. And thank you for insisting that I do it. I appreciate you very much. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you have a good day and a good night. We will see you next time.